again, it's Brian Goulet of the Goulet Pen Company and InkNouveau.com for another Fountain Pen 101, this time talking about nib materials, mainly steel versus gold nibs. A lot of times I get asked what's better, steel or gold, what's the difference, why there's such a big price difference. So I'm going to cover that in this video and hopefully it'll help to straighten some things out for you. Nibs can be made out of a couple of different materials. The most common and economical that you're probably going to see is stainless steel. It's definitely the least expensive way to go. And honestly, stainless steel has really been kind of an up-and-coming thing in the last 5 or 10 years with fountain pens because of the price of gold, which was commonly the previous preference for fountain pen nibs. The price of gold has gone through the roof. So stainless steel has been something that a lot of pen manufacturers have really developed in a positive way to be used on fountain pens. Lamy here is stainless steel. A lot of fountain pens will have stainless steel nibs, and stainless steel used to have a bad rap because generally they were of lower quality and not as smooth and things like that. But a lot of times they have tipping material on them that's a hardened steel like an iridium alloy or something like that, that is a very similar type of tipping material to a gold nib. So you, in theory, can have a stainless steel nib that writes every bit as smooth as a gold nib. Now, when it comes to gold nibs, there are several different options. Every manufacturer will kind of have their own thing, but there are different carats of gold. I've got a 14 karat right here. Let me show you. This is a Pilot Custom 823. It's got a 14 karat. I've got an 18 karat here on this Platinum President, and this Sailor 1911 has a 21 karat. Now, if you know anything about gold, you know the higher the carat, the softer the gold is. However, with fountain pen nibs, it's not just the softness of the gold that's going to be a factor in how the nib feels. It's going to be how the nib is ground, the design, the shape of the nib, and there's a lot of factors at play, so I can't exclusively say that 21 is better than 18 or 18 is better than 14. I can say 21 is purer than 18 or 14, but as far as a writing experience, it's really going to vary from one pen to another. Now, the thing that's going to differentiate gold from steel the most is going to usually be its flexibility. Gold is a softer material than steel, and I'm not saying flexibility in terms of the tines actually spreading apart and writing like a flex nib per se, but what it does is the gold bends a little bit as you write and acts kind of like a shock absorber to smooth out the bumps a little bit, and it just gives an overall feeling of gliding across the paper a little better than stainless steel. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the smoothness of the tip of the nib that's actually touching the paper. It has to do with more how that nib is flowing and how it's bending when you're actually writing with it. Now, there is one other type of nib that I have here. This is a nib that's a titanium nib from Stipula. I think there might be a couple other manufacturers that have titanium. This is a relatively new material in fountain pen nibs, and I think because of the price of gold, titanium, which normally would be very expensive, has become an alternative, an economical alternative. This particular nib is flexible. You can see those tines flexing apart. So this is just to show you kind of another option, but most of the nibs you're going to see out there are going to be stainless steel or some form of gold. One question I get asked a lot, specifically related to Lamy, but it's not just to this brand. I think it comes up more with Lamy because the nibs are identical. But anyway, the question is, what is the difference between the steel nib and the black nib? Honestly, there is no difference. It's just the color. The black nib just has a coating on it that makes it appear black. And if you can see, even the tip itself is ground the same on both pens. The tip is actually a silver color on the black nib. So it's not going to write any different. It's purely a matter of the coloring. Now, this isn't just limited to Lamy. There are other brands such as Monteverde that have both steel and black nibs. And it's not just that. We've also got Pilot has the Vanishing Point. I get asked the same question about the Vanishing Point. They have a yellow gold and a rhodium plated nib. Now, this one is the same nib again as the Lamys are the same nibs. The only difference between the yellow gold and the rhodium is that the rhodium has a rhodium plating on top of a yellow gold nib. It's still the exact same 18 karat gold nib, it just has a rhodium plating on it to make it a silver color. It's going to write the same. The only difference, the rhodium might be a little more scratch resistant than the gold because rhodium is a harder metal, but it's probably not anything that you're going to notice. Price-wise, you can usually assume that steel nib pens are going to cost a little less than gold nib pens, but that's not necessarily always the case. When you have a pen like a $4 Platinum Preppy, yeah, that's not going to be gold. It's going to be steel. As you move up towards like the Lamy, Safari, and the All-Star, looking $30, $40, still a steel nib pen. As we're getting higher up, you get into some of the Schaefers and stuff that get towards $60, $70, $80, still a steel nib. Now, some of these nibs can have gold plating on them, but it's still a stainless steel nib. The gold is really just for the appearance. Getting a little higher up here, we've got a Monteverde Invincia Deluxe. This one is pushing over $100. This one's still got a steel nib pen with a black coating, but you get into rose gold trim, you get into carbon fiber, you get into some aspects of the pen that add value besides just the nib. Then pushing higher, we've got a limited edition Edison Nouveau here that's $200, but you're getting into a high-grade ebonite, custom design pen with a limited edition, inspected, made in the USA. But I would say as a general rule, once you start hitting $150, you're starting to really have to justify what makes a pen worth having a steel nib, because when you start getting towards the $140, $150 range, you get into some of these other pens that have gold nibs. We've got some of the higher grade Lamy pens like the Studios and the Accents that come with steel nibs in certain colors. Other colors come with gold nibs, and then you start getting into like the $150 range to have those 14 karat gold nibs. You also have the Pilot Custom 74. This one's $160. You get the Vanishing Point, which is, in my opinion, one of the best value gold nib pens that you can get, and that one is pushing you around $140. Lamy 2000, you're getting a little bit more, but then you're getting into a piston filler. So this one's got a different value to it. Still a gold nib. It's kind of a hooded nib there, a little hidden, but you're around just over $150 here. As you get higher and higher up, pushing towards $250, $275, Platinum President here, 18 karat nib, that's something from Platinum. And then you're getting even higher with the Sailor 1911, around $350 or so. Pelican M800 is pushing towards $500. So really the gold nib pens can just kind of go up and up and up. But these pens, once you're pushing over $200, $250, it's kind of assumed that the pen is going to have a gold nib. Where you're really going to hit kind of that sweet spot about where you need to really justify what you have going on with your pen besides just the nib is in this $150 to $200 range. Hopefully you have a better understanding now of your nib selection. If you have any questions, you can always email me at brian@gouletpens.com. Thanks so much for watching, and right on.